Are we live? Good evening. Welcome to the Monday, January 27th, 2025 Board of Supervisors meeting. This meeting is now called to order. I will now take order. Mr. Lyons.
Here.
Mr. McDaniel.
Here.
Mr. Day.
Here.
Mr. Lewis.
Present.
And I am here. We will now offer an invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Those attending are not required to participate, but if you would like to join us, please stand.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for your many blessings. And we ask that you continue to watch over the people of Rockbridge County, especially our law enforcement and first responders. We ask that you give the board the wisdom and courage to make the best decisions possible. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will hold citizens' comments near the beginning of the meeting. We will do our best to take citizen comment remotely. There are two options for citizens to offer comment. To join by telephone, you may dial into one of the numbers listed in the county website. Webinar ID and password are there for your convenience. Citizens wishing to simply view the meeting live or after the fact can do so on the Rockbridge County Board of Supervisors YouTube channel, also available on the county website. If you wish to make a citizen comment as a Zoom meeting participant, you will use the raise your hand feature. You can press raise hand button on the bottom of your Zoom window or press *9 if you are calling by telephone. Changes to the agenda. Are any proposed changes?
I have no ma'am.
Recognitions and presentations. Ms. Flint?
Good evening, Chair, member of the board. I would like to take this time to introduce Connor Mintz to you. He's the new administrative specialist in my office. I'm very happy to have him on board. He's starting his third week. I'd like to give him a minute just to tell you who he is and where he's from.
So, as Ms. Flynn said, my name is Connor Mintz. I'm actually from New York originally. I grew up there, graduated from high school there, and then I actually moved out to Las Vegas, where I went to school at UNLV and graduated with a bachelor's in business management. Right around COVID, my family moved back east, and I followed my mom back out from Vegas. And actually, about a year ago, I bought a house for my wife, and I have a 1.5-year-old son. So trying to put down some roots and get involved in the community and try to make it a better place for our growing family.
Well, welcome.
I'm really excited to have Connor on board. He's already kicked things off. He started a business survey through our Blue Dots, and we're updating contact information. So on our board report next meeting, you will see lots of activity.
Well, good.
I had 3 emails from you, Connor. So working on it.
Thank you for your time.
Well, thank you very
Welcome.
much.
Thank you.
Mr. Dryden?
I think you all might remember last semester we had Martin was an extern from WNL Law School, and this semester we're lucky to have Hamna Bilal, who is also an extern at 2L. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, so I'm Hamna Bilal. I'm a law student at WNL 2L, and I am externing with John Dryden this semester, originally from Houston, Texas.
Welcome.
Welcome. More lucky to have her. The program's worked out really well, so we expect to keep on having them every semester. Good.
Thank you. We will now welcome citizen comments. When your name is called, please address the board at the podium stating your first and last name and magisterial district. Please limit your comments to no more than 3 minutes. There's a timer on the table for your convenience. Is there anybody signed up to speak?
Yes, ma'am. Francis, is it Rip?
Really?
I apologize.
Needs no introduction.
Okay, Dan, I really will only take 3 minutes. And look at Bob covering his ears. Yes, I'm here to talk about the same thing every year, Natural Bridge Speedway. But this year, I am so amazed at all the things that happened since Miss Bradley became promoter and now owner of Natural Bridge Speedway. On the Friday after she signed her lease with the former owner, she reached out to me knowing that she needed a contact here in the county. Over the season, I saw so much given back to this community, and she's not going to really pat herself on the shoulder. As you all know, our conditional use permit requires us to have a first aid on standby at all times. This year, under Ms. Bradley's leadership, we helped raise over $6,000 for the Glasgow Rescue Squad, besides what she paid them weekly. We also reached out to a teacher at Natural Bridge Elementary School. A lot of this, Ms. Bradley will probably tell you, but we didn't give them normal school supplies because we knew there were grants out there. Our drivers and fans and Ms. Bradley reached out. We gave them water bottles, socks, underwear, the things that quite a few of you know that Natural Bridge is one of our more underprivileged schools in the area and that they need it. This teacher said, I'm going to have to go out and buy these things. So we provided 3 huge totes. None of that was, and there are many other things that she will probably tell you some about that we haven't done before as a group of racers and drivers and fans. But she had the initiative to spearhead a lot of that and has made such a big difference. The number of children that have gotten involved. And she will tell you about one in particular, but we provided Christmas for several children in this county whose parents were incarcerated and would not have had Christmas. So, as well as giving away some other things. But I'm going to let her tell you about that. But I think you ought to know that this is a good move for Natural Bridge Speedway. It's a good move for the county. I shared with Spencer, I was in Richmond lobbying for the American Cancer Society, went into Delegate Austin's office. We didn't talk about cancer. He wanted to talk about Natural Bridge Speedway because he knew Miss Bradley had just purchased it and what a good thing this would be for this county, and talked about what Rockbridge County had to offer in the way of tourism over counties like his own, Botetourt. And he said the Speedway was one of them. So thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you.
That is all who has signed up.
All right. Is there anyone online?
No one with their hand raised.
Is there anyone in the meeting room that wishes to speak that didn't sign up? All right. Approval of the January 13th minutes. If everyone's read them and reviewed them, are there any questions and comments? Or is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Lyons?
Yes.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
And I vote yes. County financial report and appropriation resolution, Mr. Harrison.
Yes, it's lighter than usual. The amount of bills this period is $271,226.11. We do have a $2,200 grant for police equipment and requesting an appropriation of $9,938 to make repairs to the lights at the Fairfield Gym. Also, the FY24 audit is complete now and will be presented to the Board of Supervisors at the first meeting in February.
Thank you. Any questions, gentlemen? Is there a motion to adopt the proposed resolution?
So move.
I'll second.
Mr. Lyons?
Yes.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Aye.
And I vote yes. Annual update from the Virginia Horse Center. Mr. Suter?
Yes, in January 2023, the board, this board and the Economic Development Authority approved a 5-year extension of an agreement that originated all the way back in 2014, and I think you all are well familiar with it. It extended the allocation of 1% from the county's lodging tax to the Virginia Horse Center until 2029. A requirement of the amended agreement is delivery of an annual report in the month of January, generally, to both the Board of Supervisors and the EDA. It was presented to the EDA at their last meeting last week. Specifically, the amended agreement requires a report from the following schedule of events for the upcoming year. progress report on debt service, financial report, and updated 5-year CIP, capital improvement plan, and any other information that the Virginia Horse Center feels is relevant for the county, the EDA, and the public. And Horse Center Executive Director Steve Shank and Chief Financial Officer, who's here from the beginning, really, Sandra Thomas. They did present that like I say, at the EDA meeting, and they're here to present that tonight. The materials are in your package.
Yeah.
I'll just invite them up now. I guess Sandra's here to add anything, to answer any questions. Okay.
Welcome, Mr. Shanks.
Thank you for having me. We presented the 5-year Virginia Horse Center projects list. I'll give there's a complete list there. I'll give you the projects that we have going on right now. One is there'll be a paving of the Anderson parking lot. Delegate Austin has secured $300,000 for us. We are in the middle or at the end of the process of doing the RFP, and that will be out early spring to be completed at that time. We have a 7-ring footing rejuvenation going on now. 2 of the rings are done. They've all been demolished. And then we are in the process of drainage and then synthetic footing being put in those. The end date of that will be March 15th because we have horse shows the following week. All the costs and the plans are there. So that's a 7-ring project. We have completed 2 of the roofs, 2 of the 6 barn roofs with repainting. Those are completed. In October, we completed a golf cart purchase that the facility now owns 40 golf carts. We will rent them out. Last year, we charged $135 a day. We have bumped this down to help the exhibitors net to $85 a day, and we're figuring we're going to have a very successful summer. We purchased an extra water truck because of all the needs of the synthetic footing, and we now have 2 of those. Fans were installed in 3 of the arenas, one to make the East Complex more ready and available and lucrative to rent out. So those, and then Alt and Moore Arena were done. Air conditioning has been upgraded in 2 of the offices. We launch a website upgrade. I think the scheduled date for launch is the 19th of February. The staff redid Winter's Ring, and that is now open. We have that will be open for horse shows, for food and beverages. We kept staff on working more this winter. They're actually redoing the show offices downstairs with painting, lights, and new floors. For security and horse safety, we put a fence on top of the hill. That's been very successful and safe.
Right.
Any questions?
Minor point, just to hopefully show them I pay attention when I come to your meetings. But aren't you reusing some of the footing in the 7-ring? That's some that is taken out as being helping a couple other ones while the
So 3 of the rings had synthetic footing. The drainage was bad. So what we did is we took the synthetic footing out of them, repurposed the Big Lonely and Real Arena, so that it upgraded that facility. And then we will get completely new arenas for Tardy Wiley and Wiley warm-up. We will repurpose some of the footing for north and north warm-up and redo them. They needed the drainage the most. So we did reuse, and then the material that we took out of each of the arenas, we used to reconfigure the eventing hills, and we put in some extra fill and stuff like that to make them better. So everything's been repurposed and reused.
Any other questions, comments?
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you very much, Ms. Thomas.
Yes, I'm sorry. For the events, for 2024, we advertised that there was just over 70 events. For 2025, we have the facility rented 49 weekends. The other 3 weekends we are shut down. We are over 90 events this year.
Wow.
As of this point, we've added 3 quarter horse shows that the Virginia Horse Center now owns. That's a total of a 4-day, a 4-day, and a 3-day, and around Thanksgiving. Those shows are on, and then we're developing this year 4-day Virginia Horse Center Youth Equestrian Festival. It'll be a equine affair with horse shows, and we're developing that for this year, and that's a 3 to 5 year plan to grow and expand.
Mhm. It's terrific. What, the 3, I'm just curious, the 3, are those to relax because of the other 49 weekends?
We've found that some of the horse shows are, in the horse industry, there's been a downfall of 10 to 15% across the board in horses coming to horse shows, and that's kind of across the country. So we've decided to diversify a little bit. Most of the horse shows we have are hunter jumpers, eventings, got Arabs, we've got saddlebreds. Those are the bulk of our major horse shows. We've added these 3 quarter horse shows. They're breed shows in themselves, and Virginia doesn't have, I don't think Virginia has any more quarter horse shows within the Commonwealth. So it's a chance for us to upgrade and then diversify the horse shows we do have.
I think most of them, to more succinctly answer that, is around Christmas is when you all
You're just
don't
taking a
have-
break. The 3
Right.
weekends that you're just taking.
Yes, Thanksgiving week we're shut down, and then Christmas and New Year's.
Terrific. What?
Strategic.
Thank you very much. 90, that's impressive.
Good evening, everybody. Good to see you all again. One of the things that we're tasked with is talking about the debt service and the occupancy tax that we have received. In your package, you will see that we now have collected more of the 2% occupancy tax than we are having to pay to the USDA, even with this, with the payment that is due in February. So right now we are in good shape with that the 2% covering the debt service there. We still have the Cornerstone loan that's outstanding. That is due in a balloon in August of $600,000. Right now, we've got $900,000 that could go towards that. I will wait to see how collections continue throughout the next 6 months. We'll work with Ashton and Jen at the city to look at projections for next year, with the idea that we will have something at our June board meeting to decide that we're going to pay it off fully, or that we're going to refinance just a small portion of the $600,000. So we're working on that. The other thing that you have are our financials for the first 6 months. You will see their net operating margin is down from the prior year. Our stall usage is down 18%, and as Steve just mentioned, that's split across the board across the country. The horse show numbers are just down. We're hoping that these new quarter horse shows, as well as the other things that we're putting in place, will help us get our numbers back up. Are there any questions that you have about the financials or about the occupancy tax and debt service? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
And again, there is no action.
I see, yeah,
necessary.
yeah, no action. Annual review for the Natural Bridge Speedway. Mr. Slade.
Thank you. Per condition number 1 of the February 27th, 2012 special exception permit, the Natural Bridge Speedway is required to present an annual report to the Board of Supervisors. Per ordinance, the report is required to be presented to the board before the second meeting in January. Historically, the board has allowed this to be presented at the second meeting in January with all the organizational features that we have during the first meeting. The report is required to include a summary of the conditions and how they were met, a summary of events held, and a preliminary schedule for the upcoming year. As noted, Miss Amanda Bradley, manager and promoter of the 2024 season and current owner or managing member of the LLC. It's Amanda Enterprises Speedway LLC, purchased the property from the former owner JCG Adventures LLC on the 2nd of this year. Is in attendance this evening. Miss Bradley, I would like to point out, Miss Bradley provided the annual report in a timely manner, but through discussions, staff felt it'd be beneficial to place the item on tonight's agenda. So I will echo that Miss Bradley and her team down there at Natural Bridge Speedway have been great to work with this year, and I feel like the track is going in the right direction, pun intended or not intended there. With that, the Office of Community Development did issue 1 summons for a zoning violation in 2024 that pertained to racing past curfew on September 21st, 2024. With that, I'd like to turn the floor over to Ms. Bradley. I think she has a few comments and answer any questions the board may have. Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Amanda Bradley and I'm the owner. It is very important to me to follow all of the rules that are set in place. It's important to me to keep everyone happy and to make sure that the track is a family atmosphere. During our race season, we made sure that all of the roads were watered so that dust and dirt was not a factor. We even watered the gravel, we watered the infield so that everything was wet. During the 2024 season, we had Glasgow Rescue Squad there on a weekly basis. Nightly trash was bagged and disposed of after each event, and Dry Branch Road also got picked up every Saturday night. It is very important to me and my family that we give back to the community. This year, we hosted an Easter egg hunt for the kids at the racetrack. We paid for the spaghetti dinner for the Glasgow Fire Department. We bought a ton of tickets for the Glasgow Fire Department as well. We donated bikes for kids to the first aid and also to a charity. We donated lottery tickets that helped the first aid raise money to get them extra funds for a medical room that they have to build. We donated shirts, frisbees, and gifts about every other weekend to kids if their name was drawn. We did the school supplies like Francis noted, and then we also provided Christmas for the kids. In the packet, you'll see the 2024 start times and then our end times. Chris mentioned that we went over on the Bear Memorial Race, which is one of our biggest races of the year. About halfway through, it poured rain and there was just too many people there to make them come back the next day. We had a lot of out-of-state racers there. So we had to wait the rain out and then get the track back together, which took about an hour, and then we were able to proceed. The next page in the packet is our schedule for this year. Noted on there, I did put that we would have a practice or race every Friday. That is just so that you guys know if something's going on. It will not be every Friday. It's more so for rain dates and if anybody wants to practice. Any questions that you guys have?
No, I don't have a question. I have a comment. I will say that typically being a representative in that district, I received couple calls a year for things. And during 2024, I received one call, and it was to compliment you on the job that you were doing. So thank you very much for what you're doing there. I think the neighbors are all very much pleased with what you're doing and how you're doing it. And I just hope you keep it up this year.
I sure will. That's our main goal, is to keep everybody happy.
We appreciate that.
So there's no action required by the board except for just to accept the report.
We accept it. Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks for
all.
your time.
Thank you very much.
Consideration of approval of rabies clinics, Mr. Suter.
Yes, as you may recall, state code requires that the board approve all rabies clinics in the county. We're fortunate to have volunteer fire and EMS agencies to host these clinics throughout the county. I'm presenting for Chief Ramsey. He did this report, but so he received a schedule as shown in your board report for clinics at Rafine and South River Volunteer Fire Departments on Saturday, February the 1st, and South River would be from 10 to 12, and Rafine would be from 12:30 to 2. Additionally, Goshen Volunteer Fire Company has requested approval to host a clinic on the next day, February 2nd, 2025, from 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock at Goshen Volunteer Fire Department. And if approved, staff will provide the board with a report detailing the number of vaccinations administered at the conclusion of the clinics, as has been requested in the past.
Thank you.
I move that we approve the rabies clinics.
Second.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Lyons?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Consideration of municipal software contract with Tyler Technologies. Mr. Harrison?
Yes, well, this has been a long time coming. Actually, the county got started on the assessment of the needs before I came on board, so that was over 2 years ago. But we have, so back in March of 2024, the Board of Supervisors authorized staff to negotiate a contract with Tyler Technologies. We had some road bumps along the way, largely, in all fairness, a lot of that was on our part, not Tyler Technologies. But we came through, and we couldn't have done that without our team. We had, of course, Mr. Suter and Dryden. They've done a great job. On the term of the agreement, Mr. Suter stayed firm and on negotiating a more favorable time frame for our contract, extending that to 10 years. And we had some legal issues or concerns that Mr. Dryden stayed firm on. And Mr. Grubb with Virtual IT was successfully able to negotiate that with Tyler. Also, we have Stefan and Amy is also with us. They've been a part of the team. And of course, I mentioned Mr. Grubb, but he's done a wonderful job herding cats. It's just a great job. And lastly, I'd like to also thank Tyler Technologies. They were very good at negotiating with us in good faith. The school division is on board with moving. They're already on a Munis, which is a Tyler software package. They're on board to move forward with being on the same agreement and software as us. So at this time, and Mr. Grubb, when he goes over the details of what's in Exhibit A, which is the details of the different software suites and the cost, we'll note that we are keeping the commissioner revenue and the treasurer as optionals at this time. From a practical standpoint, they were going to be last anyway. Finance and human resources and community development and building department is what we're looking at first. Part of that is actually it's more the Commissioner of Revenue than the Treasurer's Office. But the Treasurer Office relies on the Commissioner of Revenue. But until they get, there's some support issues that Tyler's working through, and until we just felt as a team that until we start getting better feedback from the other localities and also our own Commissioner of Revenue on their support. It's really more on, not on the software itself. It seems to be more on the support side. But we'll readdress that. But again, they were going to be down the road a couple of years anyway before bringing on board. So we hope, we're cautiously optimistic they'll get there. With that said, I'd like to have Mr. Grubb come up and put over for the day.
Sure. Hello. Thank you all for having me today. So in your board packet and your contract, the contract you have in front of you is a multi-phase project, which will last, at least as defined right now, about 19 months. And the first phase of that will be financials, which will be our core financial system, as well as accounts payable. Once again, that's both for the county and the schools. We'll get away from the situation of where the school has to run a mirror system because the system that is currently in place here wouldn't serve their need. We'll actually all be on the same system, which will be a refreshing situation. Phase 2 will be the HR payroll to replace that component of the system. And once again, that will be the system that will pay both county and school employees. And then phase 3 will be community development, which is probably one of the most significant impacts and changes for the citizens of the county. They'll have a system that they can interact with both community development and with the building department as far as applying for permits online, requesting inspections online, viewing information about existing permits and requests. They'll be able to make payments online. So that'll be a significant improvement for the citizens of the county. Phase 4, as defined right now, as Ashton mentioned, will be revenue and tax billing. Right now, that is not a part of the contract that you have in front of you, but it is an option. And the reason it is an option is that if the Rockbridge County decides to exercise that option, then it would not require us to go back out for another procurement. We could exercise that option and purchase those modules without having to go through another procurement.
Hey, Randy,
Yes,
just
sir.
so you know, if you need to refer to anything, Stefan's got it pulled up.
Okay, great. So as far as the project as a whole goes, are there any questions about the project? And then I'm going to get into more of a summary of the contract for you. All right, the contract itself that you have in front of you, it is a software as a service agreement, which means that the solution itself is hosted 100% by Tyler Technologies on their infrastructure, as compared to the situation today where BAI is hosted on your infrastructure. And so Tyler will be 100% responsible for that infrastructure and disaster resilience and availability of that solution. It will be paid for in quarterly SaaS fees, which will include hosting support and continuous updates for the solution so that we're never behind on versions of the software. As I mentioned, it will include financials, AP, reporting, HR, payroll, and community development, as well as Tyler payments, which will allow us to accept payments online. And once again, all support for that solution will be provided by Tyler.
So you're saying that everything will be hosted on Tyler's system, not on the county system. So if it's down and our citizens have an issue, where are they calling?
Well, they're going to call you, or they're going to call the folks here. But then the folks here will have a direct support contact with Tyler. So if there is an issue, they will be calling Tyler. And I'll tell you, hosted systems today, that's pretty much the norm. But I don't care how good your contract is. If there's a problem, the contract's not going to help you get the system back up. And so at that point, Tyler, we do our due diligence with Tyler. They have multiple sites, they have redundancy, all that's built into what you're paying for. So that they are doing the best they can do for the amount of money that, they're charging us to make sure that the solution's available a high percentage of the time. There is provisions in the contract that if it's not, then the county would get some type of financial reimbursement for that. But it is going to be incumbent on the county to have a continuity of operations plan in place so that, for example, if the system were down for whatever reason, then there is an alternate set of processes the county can follow to pay your employees or to pay your bills, which are, two of the critical components that are in this system. So that every county should have that anyway. But it becomes even more important when you have a SaaS solution like this where someone else is hosting it. The contract has really two components to it. One is a one-time implementation cost. And the one-time implementation cost that you'll see in there is approximately $378,000, which will be used to implement all the phases that you saw. The other component of the contract is a recurring yearly cost, which will be paid quarterly, but that will be approximately $163,270 yearly that the county will be paying for that solution. The fees are stepped. They have a step function to them because we're not going to immediately have all these functions available to us day one. And so the fees do increase as we gain functionality so that you're only paying for what you're using. As I mentioned, the contract does have options for their revenue and tax billing solution. The initial term of the contract is 3 years with an automatic renewal for an additional 7. And then the fees are basically fixed through years 1 through 3, and 4 through 10 will be capped at 5% increase per year, which is pretty much an industry standard in the local government sector. So that is really a summary of the contract that you have in front of you, and I am happy to answer any questions that you have about the project or about the contract itself.
I would just also add, in addition to the commissioner and treasurers on the optional, there's also some optional services on the finance and human resources side that we want to look at, but we put them as optional at this time for 2 reasons. One being cost, but B, we felt as a team that it was best for the organization if staff became proficient in the core functions of Tyler before looking at any options, additional type things.
John?
I'll add that this is as you all know, that anytime you adopt new software, it's a sea change. It's especially a sea change when your software that you're using has been in use since, I believe, 1992. So it is truly a sea change to do this, and it's not an easy task. It involves a lot of work and a lot of dedicated work on not just IT staff, but the users really getting into the system and learning it and using it. And that's how, if we view this as a partnership, we're going to be much better off in the end.
And getting the schools and the county on the same platform, that's a big deal. I'm a citizen of Roanoke County, and I'm happy to see that my locality, the schools and the county are on the same systems so that my tax dollars are being used efficiently. And so that same thing will happen here in Rockbridge County.
As long as Tyler follows through. that was a promise made to the school system many years ago when they went with Tyler, and it never came to fruition.
Yeah, and one of the things I'm managing a similar project for Albemarle County right now. We just went live with the community development package at Albemarle County in the beginning of January, and knock on wood, that has gone very well there. And we're also implementing the financial system in Albemarle County right now, and that project is going very well. The county contracted with me to be involved in this project, both through selection and to support the implementation. And I think that has a lot to do with it, as far as the work that this team has done to prepare for this, and then the contract that we've worked to put together. I think we're in a really good position. I think this contract will help us, by monitoring things, making sure things are happening the way that they're supposed to happen. I think the county is well positioned to be successful. I feel good about this. If I didn't, I wouldn't be a part of it. I'll be honest. So I think you're in a good position to be successful.
We've studied on it, for several years, as was mentioned, not to discount John Dryden's input, but Ms. Huffman was looking at these contracts prior to that. So, we've gone over them. And I think kudos to staying with it and got us something about as good as we're going to get. And you mentioned to me the point of all this agony is to provide better customers for the citizen, which this should do, and is what was requested of me, which is one of the reasons I've supported certainly trying to go down this path to find something. So I think we've done some good due diligence in looking at the options that are out there and finding the best one that fits us. And it seems to me the graduated approach is the right thing to do, both from fiscal as well as an efficiency aspect. I mean, you can have 14 modules out there, but you really only need one right away, because that's all you can do. So it sounds, I'm heartened by the approach that's being taken, as well as the time put into the contract. So I think we should proceed with it. But I don't know if there are other questions.
So is Bright completely going away?
No, sir. As mentioned, Ashton, you go ahead.
Yes, there'll be the commissioner and the treasurer's office will stay on Bright for hopefully by the time we get to stage 4, or we'll be ready to bring them on board. But until that time, we'll be having we'll have the Bright software.
I understand for the commissioner and treasurer. I'm talking about for like your office, your department.
Oh, yes. Well, first, thank you again to the Board of Supervisors for funding that second position in the IT department. So with Stefan's expertise and George, who's already, both of them have already started working on how to best move at least 5 years of data over from Brights to Tyler. So kudos to them. We couldn't have done that without that additional staff position that you approved. And part of also having that position will help in that time when finance is on the Tyler system and the treasurer's office mainly is still on the Bright system. We have that additional staff support to help make those daily downloads and uploads to the. So it's basically we'll be downloading information from the Bright system and uploading it to the Tyler system.
It will go away.
Will go away.
And my point there is, what type of cost savings will that be to the county with that piece going away to help offset the cost of the Tyler system?
About $80,000 a year. we also will achieve a cost savings for the licensing that the school is paying Tyler today. They won't be paying that anymore. And so that'll be a cost savings of about $60,000.
And I don't know if that includes it, but also when you there's a trade-off on the third party SaaS offsite. When you have to replace a server, you're not going to have to replace that server anymore down the road. So your in-house hardware and networking costs are going to be reduced over time. Is that a correct statement?
Yeah, that is absolutely correct. Whatever the depreciable life of the hardware is equated to each year, then, that's correct.
And I will caution too. I mean, that these conversions again are not without pain and not without missteps here and there and bumps in the road. There's going to be that. There's going to be times when we have to look and try to figure another way around something. But that's why again we have Randy and and I also like, you mentioned Albemarle County. Albemarle County has staffs of people that are dedicated to these, and we've got a 2-person superstar IT department, but it does take a lot of work to get this done. But I think we've got a dedicated group to get this done.
And that's the reason the time frame for the project is so long, because people have to work on this and their day job. And so, this project will require a percentage of their time. Another percentage of their time will be focused on doing their day job. And that's why the project takes as long as it takes, because that's just what we do in local government. But yeah, I once again, I have no doubt that we'll be successful. I've managed a lot of these projects, and none of them have ever failed. And it's not because of me; it's because of the process. This team went through the right process. They did their due diligence, as you talked about. They made the right decisions, and I think they have a good solution in front of them. And so that's why it will be successful.
And we also have our neighbors, of course, Albemarle, but Augusta County is on Tyler now, and Allegheny is also has just recently gone live with. So we have those networks on a continuing, excuse me, on a continuing basis to work with. And I know Stefan. He has his network with fellow IT managers across the state, and they're an active group, and so he'll be involved in that as well. And that's one of the things also part of our cost. Tyler, that was one of the things we worked on negotiating is, since we have such a small staff, they worked with us and we were able to negotiate more hours, support hours on the implementation side than I think the standard agreement. And so Tyler did work with us on that. I think, is it 70-30 or 80-20? 70-30, which is beyond their normal.
And the initial transition period, 19, 20 months, that's in the 3-year agreement. I mean, it's not 3 years after you complete the convert.
Correct. The agreement will start when you all make the decision to sign the contract. Then that's when the 3-year term would begin.
And is there a reason the renewal periods are on an annual basis?
That's just pretty much standard. Yeah.
Is there an option if we're happy with it to do, because if you do an annual renewal, it also gives a chance for an annual increase.
So the other language in the contract is the subject to appropriation language, because, God forbid, worst case scenario, all of a sudden, the county decides not to renew the contract. And so, for both sides to, I guess be happy with the contract. The year ends up being kind of a standard term. The other thing, we really want to push for as long a term as we can get with a cap on the renewals. And that's where the negotiation happens because, by letter of the law, every time this contract renews, if that is automatic renewal is not in place, then, you get into procurement law of having to put out an RFP again, which nobody wants to do. And so, that the structure of the term and the escalation and all of those things were things that we really negotiated a lot to get to the point that Tyler was happy and we were happy with what they were giving us. So those are always the points. I've gone through this. This is the third time within about 2 years I've gone through this with Tyler, and their contracts, believe it or not, have gotten a lot simpler in that 3-year time frame, and they've become much easier to deal with.
And one of the things, and just to emphasize that we like about the Tyler agreement is their software updates. They don't do these massive overhauls anymore. So you're not like going from a whole Tyler system to a whole brand new Tyler system. When they do updates, they do it in a phased approach so that it's not just overwhelming, gives everyone time to adjust and learn those improvements. Back to the term, as I mentioned before, yes, Mr. Suter was clear in our negotiations, and Mr. Grubb was able to successfully negotiate that directly with Tyler to get us to 10 years, so that so we could offset the cost of the implementation. We had to come back in like 3 years, and the implementation costs outweighs the cost.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Gentlemen, any other questions? If not, is there a motion to adopt the proposed resolution? Mr. Lewis? Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Lyons?
Yes.
Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
And I vote yes. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you all. Look forward to seeing this happen here.
We'll move on to the public hearings.
Thank you.
Mr. Slade.
And I will.
I'm still on.
It should be.
I think if I got kicked off.
You're there.
Okay. We catch up with
You
y'all.
couldn't share because he was still sharing her for a second.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you.
There you go.
Didn't work very well during the planning commission PowerPoint, so I'm trying it again. It looks like it's going well. The first public hearing we have for tonight's meeting is the Perkins rezoning map amendment. In attendance representing the project is Ronald A. and Janet K. Perkins. Current zoning in the area. When originally the Perkins started talking about the rezoning, I was anticipating finding that this section of residential zoning was adopted by the Board of Supervisors in 72 when the conception of zoning was done, when zoning was implemented, I should say. After further research, I realized it wasn't until 1984 when we did another mapping amendment exercise that this area of Maury River Road was zoned residential, approximately 1984. So to review the districts in the area. say the same thing. I'll use my laser pointer here. The yellow on the map is residential. That'd be residential and general use district. The white to the north is agricultural and general use district. And then essentially to the south and southeast would be the agricultural transitional zoning district, A2. Of course, this application is to rezone the Perkins properties to from residential R1 to agricultural transitional. A little bit about the properties themselves. The properties are owned by Ronald A. and Janet K. Perkins, trustees. Again, both of them are attendants to represent the project. The map shows the Perkins land holdings in the area outlined in magenta. The holdings consist of two parcels that are identified as 62-A-19 of 25.44 acres, and the second parcel, 62-19-B, consisting of 17.992 acres, totaling 43.432 acres per tax records. Currently, there's a single-family dwelling identified as 1080 Maury River Road on the property. The remaining property consists of approximately 5 to 8 acres of woods, a small pond, and a field that is currently utilized for hay production. Again, this is an application for a zoning map amendment to rezone the property from R1 to AT. The area is within a suburban service designation per the 2024 land use chapter of the comprehensive plan. The successful rezoning application would not change the land use designation. However, a successful rezoning application would change the minimum lot size from the current 1 acre lot size with a drain field and residential to the current 2 acre lot size in the agricultural transitional zone. I won't read the entire list, but this is matters to be considered in drawing and applying zoning ordinances and districts under 15.2-2284 of the Code of Virginia. It states that is existing use of and the character of the property, the comprehensive plan, the suitability for the property for various uses, the trends for growth or change, and the current and future requirements of the community as to land for various and purposes as determined by population, economic studies, and other studies. I will say that this, if I can back up a second, this, of course, was a more recent rezoning application, same thing from a residential to agricultural. In 1984, it actually included what's commonly referred to as lazy acres. They did a downzoning project on their side. On up the street for the development of the equestrian facility that's currently there. This application and other applications, I should say, have spearheaded sort of a larger discussion about the land uses in the area. Mr. Tom Stanley, the extension agent, resides on one of these parcels. He has a sheep operation there. Also, I believe that some family members own the adjacent property, and they both were interested in a downzoning essentially. And we've talked to at least 2 other people in this area on this side of the road that were interested in pursuing a rezoning application. This is one of those where when you start the conversation, they're somewhat surprised that it's zoned agricultural, or excuse me, that it's not zoned agricultural. Again, the property is in the suburban service area. Successful rezoning application would not change the land use designation. As described in the written description of plans, the Perkins desire is to place the property in a conservation easement per section Code of Virginia, section 1.0. It's the Virginia Conservation Easement Act. 10.1-1010 states that no creation of easements shall be valid and enforceable unless the limitations or obligations created thereby conform in all respects, and an emphasis added there, to the comprehensive plan at the time the easement is granted for the area in which the real property is located. In summary, Code of Virginia section 15.2-2229 amendments to the comprehensive plan, which I think is going to be part of this discussion based on their desire, is after the adoption of comprehensive plan, all amendments to it shall be recommended and approved and adopted respectfully as required for point 15.2-2204. If the governing body, it goes on to say, if the governing body desires amendment, it may prepare such amendment and refer it to the local planning commission for public hearing, or direct the local planning commission to prepare an amendment and submit for public hearing within 60 days or such longer time frame as may be specified after written request by the governing board body. So this is really, and we've worked with the Perkins family with this, and they understand as far as the two-step process. Essentially, and it's not the chicken or egg. In a perfect world, we would address the comprehensive plan prior to the rezoning. Through this process, I have learned more about easements and how they relate to zoning and the comprehensive plan. But in summary, if the board of supervisors like to consider the ability of other down zonings or to further support other down zonings in the area, or for qualifying landowners in the area to be able to place their properties in conservation easements and or open space easements, it'd be beneficial for that discussion and review of the existing boundaries of the suburban service areas to be placed on the upcoming board agenda. As far as the Planning Commission's recommendation, on December 11th, 2024, the Planning Commission held its public hearing and has recommended approval of the zoning map amendment application. With that, I'd like to turn it over to the Perkins to come up further details on the application and answering questions the board may have.
Thank you. I would like to open the public hearing. Or would you like him to describe
we
the
usually do,
project
yes,
first?
yes,
Yes, sir. You
yes.
come. I'm sorry. Let's do that.
Okay.
Hello, Mr. Perkins.
Good evening. I want to thank you for your time and for your willingness to consider our request for rezoning our property from residential to agricultural transition. I think Chris pretty well covered everything. And to get to the bottom line, because I know your time is valuable, our purpose is totally to be able to donate a conservation easement to the Shenandoah Conservancy. And in fact, the Shenandoah Conservancy has already surveyed the land, and their board has voted to accept the property, contingent, of course, on the action of or the Rockbridge County Supervisors. The purpose, I don't know if how many of you are familiar with the property, but it's located on the east side of Route 39, a mile past the Horse Center. We have 1,000 feet of frontage that affords a perfectly obscured view, a pastoral view of the Blue Ridge Mountains. It's probably the last view you see of the Blue Ridge as you go out Route 39. As Chris mentioned, in fact, even though this whole area on the east side of the road is zoned residential, the practical use is in almost every case agricultural, starting with the Horse Center, which my wife and I made a major donation to the Horse Center 3 years ago to open up. There used to be a lot of vegetation along 39 there that obstructed the view to Blue Ridge. For half a mile, we gave a donation to the Horse Center to have that all stripped away and a new horse fence put in. After that, you have the Landford property, which recently, 6 months ago, I believe, the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors approved the transition similar to ours from residential to agricultural transition for a stable, which we're very happy to have. Then you have Tom Stanley's property, and then you have our property. The next property is Hayde. There are a few houses there that you would consider residential, but are back from the road, and then you come to Lazy Acres. So in fact, already most of that, all of that territory is in agricultural use. Behind me is Joseph Straub, who has a, a multi-hundred acre livestock operation. So it definitely is agricultural. And our entire purpose in requesting this is to be able to ensure that future generations will be able to enjoy that view, which is becoming decreasingly available in the county of the Blue Ridge pastoral. And we just hope that we can get the county's approval and move forward to put the property in a conservation easement. I'd be happy to answer any questions that any of you have.
Sir, I would just ask, we're not addressing the conservation easement tonight.
Right.
But so I just want to make sure, I mean, you're comfortable regardless of that outcome with this being rezoned in agricultural, because that is the first step, and
Yes.
that we're not actually addressing that particular thing tonight, and just
Yes.
wanted to confirm that in fact, regardless, you would like it zoned agricultural,
Yes.
transitional.
Yep. Yeah, we have no intention of ever having it developed, and so we would be happy to have it be agricultural in any event.
Okay.
Just piggyback off that, I will add that, as say the presentation, the 1 acre lot size with residential on a drain field. It goes to a 1/2 acre lot size with a public sewer. The closest public sewer in the area is Patrick Drive. I have the exact distance in the agenda item. With that being said, I'm unaware of any current or future plans to extend public sewer and water to this portion of Ford River Road. So what it does is the rezoning it does is take it from a 1 acre lot size residential to a 2 acre lot size. But as y'all know, it's getting harder and harder to develop land on a well and drain field home site on less than 2 acres with the reserve capacity of drain fields the way they are now. So just wanted to make that point.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So I would like to open the public hearing.
There is no one signed up, but we'll recognize anyone at this time. And if anyone's online that would like to make a comment, please utilize the raise your hand button now. Nope. Not seeing, we'll turn it back over to the chair.
Anybody else out there like to speak? If not, I will go ahead and close the public hearing. Any board discussion?
Here you go, and I'd move we approve.
Is there any other? Not? Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Lyons?
Yes.
And I vote yes.
Thank you.
We will now move on. Mr. Sladen?
The next public hearing we have is associated with a kennel in the agricultural and general use districts. Shared my screen here to show the property. John Cooter, 189 Sulphur Springs Road, Natural Bridge, Virginia, 24578, have made an application for a special exception to continue to operate a commercial kennel. The property is owned by John Cooter and Cynthia Hunter. Both are in attendance this evening, and is located on the east side of Sulphur Springs Road, further identified as 683, approximately 0.23 miles south of the intersection of Plank Road. Plank Road is further identified as 610 and Sulphur Springs Road. The property is located and surrounded by the agricultural and general use districts, A2 zoning district, per section 603.03-5 of the land development regulations. A kennel is a use by special exception. The property is further identified as tax map number 96-6-5D, and the property is in the Buffalo Magisterial District. Just side note, per tax records, John Cooter and Cynthia Hunter own tax map number that's under consideration this evening that's outlined in magenta, 96-6-5D, but they also currently own another parcel to the south that's identified as 96-6-5D1. Both parcels total equal 8 acres, excuse me. The individual parcel, this is unusual nowadays, but the individual acreage for each parcel is unknown. And so that's why you can see in your ordinances and stuff, even in a staff agenda, we made note of that. And this application would only pertain to the property that's part of the application, excuse me, is 96-6-5D. On December 11th, 2024, the Planning Commission held its public hearing and has recommended approval of the special exception application with the following conditions. Number one, all breeding, raising, caring for of dogs shall take place in the existing dwelling. And it spells out the 189 Sulphur Springs Road address there. Number two, breeding shall be limited to poodles, small and or standard, golden doodles, bernedoodles, and or cavapoos. Number three, limited to 4 female dogs and 1 male dog for breeding, which shall include any visiting stud dogs. And fourth and final condition, as recommended by the Planning Commission, is number 4, boarding and grooming operations shall be prohibited. So this is a strictly based on the Planning Commission's recommendation. This would be limited to breeding operations in the existing dwelling. With that, I'd like to turn the floor over to Mr. Cooter.
Chris pretty much said it all. We're just a small operation. It's right now 2 female dogs. And when we came in front of the Planning Commission, they said, shoot a little higher, leave room for growth. So that's where the 4 and the 1 male came in. We just breed hypoallergenic dogs for people with allergies, things like that. And we do it in our home, not in a kennel situation. I saw the certified letter that we got that qualified it as a commercial kennel, which is kind of harsh since they're our pets. They sleep on our couch, they're just our pets. So we're just asking to be able to continue our breeding operation and supplement our income. I retired, I sold my businesses I've had since 1991 when we moved from Pennsylvania to here. And then I work part-time now at W&L in the sustainability department. So we're just looking to supplement our income and, find these dogs forever homes and, receive the Christmas cards and things we receive from the new owners and see how much they love them and how much they've become part of their family. That's pretty much it. Is there any questions?
Sure. You spoke of forever homes. What happens when it's not a forever home? Do you offer breeder support in that?
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, we tell them if it doesn't work out, call us. We'll take it back. Sure, but we give them. We do the wellness check. We do the vaccinations before they get them, and then in the contract we give them a 1-year health guarantee. That kind of stuff. We haven't had to take any back. I mean, they all have worked out. We do vet them pretty well through a company called Good Dog, who also vets us in order for us to participate in their program. They check our program, and then they also, the new owners go through them as well. So it's done through a company called Good Dog.
That places your dogs. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, they go online and search through Good Dog and find one that matches, and then they fill out an application and send it to us. We review it and then move forward from there if it's a good fit. We have told people it's not a good fit. If we see the dog is, has hyper anxiety and they have small children, we have denied people from getting our dogs. Yes, we want to be sure that we put them in a good home.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you.
Currently have 2 female dogs.
Yeah.
Any male dogs?
No.
And typically, how many litters of puppies do you have throughout the year?
We have, we have rehomed because of the size of our home, and we have rehomed all but two of them. Our hopes now is to have two, 3 litters a year. With 2 dogs, it's not possible to have more than 2. Because you can't overbreed. You get them break into 3 heat cycles. That 2, 3 litters a year is our goal. We don't, we're retired. We don't want the
So-
work. It's a lot of work. People think, oh, that's great, but no, it's a lot of work.
So, sir, I'm a little unclear. You said that you had how many dogs in your house now?
We have 2 female poodles at the moment.
Oh, I thought you said, and you kept 2. 2 have not been placed yet.
No, we had 5 or so, I believe was the number when we moved from Pennsylvania. But right now we have 2 female poodles left, 2 standard female poodles.
Mhm.
Chris, Mr. Slayton, I'm sorry, I got a question for you. With regards to he has 2 female dogs, and obviously he's got to have a male dog for breeding. How does that affect stipulation number 4 that it can't board?
No, that's an excellent point. I was just sitting there thinking about it as we did it. I apologize. I had not thought about this earlier. Number 3 should be, I would recommend number 3 be amended, excluding any puppy 16 weeks or younger.
Okay, so that means that, yes, I think we always have to have that in. So that means that dogs that are adult dogs as they enter their reproductive years can't be considered a dog that's going to be sold. It now is part of your breed. Even if you're not planning on breeding that dog, it still needs to be counted towards the 4.
It would be the way it currently reads, limited to 4 female dogs and 1 male dog for breeding, which shall include any visiting stud dogs. What recommending to add, excluding any puppies 16 weeks or younger, and I believe that's 16 weeks. I think we've utilized that in the past. So I apologize, we did not catch
That's an
that one.
awful long time to keep them.
Okay.
The law says 8. We usually shoot for around 12 because we want to get all their vaccinations and make sure they're off to a good start. So usually we try to get homes for them around 12 weeks, but yeah, 16 weeks is a long time to keep a puppy.
I agree with what you're adding there, but my question also goes back to number 4, boarding. Obviously, they will have to board a male dog during the breeding process.
The stud dog, I think that would be covered in number 3, which shall include any visiting stud dogs. I think that's clarified.
Yeah, it reads 4 female dogs and 1 male dog for breeding.
Yes.
Male dogs are kind of a pain, in my opinion. So we try not to keep them at the house longer than it takes, to breed the female. And sometimes we go to them, depending on where they're located, because they're located all over the place. So that when we hire a stud.
Gentlemen, do you have any other questions for Mr. Cooter or Mr. Slayton? If not, I will open the public hearing.
Can I sit down?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
There's no one signed up.
And Ms. Hughes does not have her hand raised.
All right, anybody else in the audience? All right, I will now close the public hearing. Any other comments?
Motion to approve with the amendment. Second.
Mr. McDaniel?
Yes.
Mr. Lyons?
Yes.
Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Aye.
And I vote yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, may I say something?
Sure.
This is not typical, but I would like to say that Mr. Cooter was pretty good addition to the community. I didn't realize until now, but he and I met alongside the road. There was a tremendous amount of trash in the creek when he bought the place, and he cleaned it all up. And I went by, and there was about 15 garbage bags full of trash, and had the trailer, and I was going to head to the dump anyway. So I started picking them up, and he came running over and said, "I was going to get that." And I said, "Oh, I know you cleaned it up. I can haul it." So anyway, just speaks to the character, and thank you for that. I just want to recognize.
He might get the litter trophy. Thank you very much. All right, so, gentlemen, we'll move on with our meeting. Thank you. We have an interjurisdictional meeting Thursday, January 30th, 2025 at 6 p.m. in the mezzanine at the Virginia Horse Center located at 487 Maury River Road. Hope to see you there. Does the board have any additional comments before we move to close meeting or to vote on a closed meeting? And we do not expect to have the closed meeting have any motions or action in that closed meeting.
I move that the Rockbridge County Board of Supervisors convene in a closed session to discuss the following as permitted by Virginia Code 2.2-3711A7, a matter involving consultation with legal counsel about pending cases of the Village of Rockbridge LLC and Lakeside Manor LLC, and as permitted by Virginia Code 2.2-3711A8, a matter involving consultation with legal counsel employed or retained by the county regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by such counsel regarding an identified legal liability issue pertaining to the county.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Lyons?
Yes.
Mr. McDaniel? Mr. Day?
Yes.
Mr. Lewis?
Aye.
And I vote yes. Thank you, everyone. What?
Is that all right? Just think about pops. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. CJ. No, I'll give it back.
Assume Spencer might come back
If
maybe.
he turned off the video.
Double check on that.
Audio.
I thought Ashton would have had to stay here for this. Guess not.
All right, thank you. Hasn't been turned off yet.
Goodness gracious.
Oh, no. That's fine.
And you're sure it's off now?
the door and come out. Okay, for the record, we're now, came out of closed session at 7:26.
All right, is there any unfinished business?
I move the board certify.
Thank you.
Meeting just conducted to the best of each member's knowledge. Nothing was heard, discussed, or considered except the matter or matters specifically identified in the motion to convene in closed session. Lawfully permitted to do so as exempt from open meeting requirements under the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act cited in the motion.
Do we vote on that too, or is that?
Yes,
Okay, Mr. Lowe.
and it's a roll call. Yep. Sorry, you're all.
Yes.
Mr. McDaniel.
Yes.
Mr. Day.
Yes.
And I vote yes. All right, any unfinished business?
Okay, turn your
Any
paper.
reports?
Thank you, John.
If there's nothing else, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Mr. McDaniel.
Yes.
Mr. Lyons.
Yes.
Mr. Day. I vote yes.
See you.
Do we need
Wednesday.
to, or should we have just, for a meeting on Thursday? Should we have ended or should we have just continued?
No, it's an advertised meeting.